Captain Gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. You guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely going to want to check this one out. So we're witnessing that airhead of Congress, AOC, facing a major backfire after her calls for the impeachment of President Donald Trump over Iran, guys. I'm excited to get to this one, so we're hop straight into it. All I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's hop straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
I go back in on Monday. You could have hollered at us on Monday. If you truly felt like there was something, like, there is nothing that they will say that will make me believe that this action needed to take place, and it needed to take place without the consultation of the Congress. All right, give me one more.
How can the Senate be involved and make them accountable for what they're doing?
I mean, listen, y'all are talking about accountability. The systems have broken down. The systems have broken down because people have legitimately decided that they would rather serve him than serve the people that put them into office. Like, I don't really have any, like, good answers for you, except for the fact that legitimately everything that he does is, like, against the law. Like, he just breaks the law. And I know that there are some people that think that I just say this stuff because I'm a Democrat. And I can tell you, I have my own issues with my own party. I'm not saying these things because I'm a Democrat. I'm saying these things because I am a black woman in America who just happens to be educated enough to know what the law is. And I can tell you that while some people want to disparage my credibility and act as if I don't know what I'm talking about, I can absolutely guarantee to you that if you Google war and authority and constitution, you're gonna see Congress. And this thing that's like on my chest tells you that I am a member of Congress. I don't really know, like, and the biggest problem that we face right now is that we have an administration that does not care about making sure that they abide by rules or abide by the law.
Oh my goodness, you guys, that right there, I had to start off right there. That was that Representative Ratchet, aka Jasmine Crockett. She's upset that President Donald Trump didn't holler at your girl before the strikes on Iran. Doesn't make much sense. Her reasoning behind why she's entitled to Donald Trump hitting her up first. Saying that she's a black woman and she knows her law. She's going to drag race into every single talking point situation that she, comes in front of. It makes no sense to me, but it doesn't stop there. We got that airhead of Congress, AOC, also embarrassing herself just the other day, tweeting out saying that the president's disastrous decision to strike Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the Constitution and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generations. It is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment. Oh my goodness. This whole impeachment thing, it seems like every single time there is a situation that arises, they're like, oh my gosh, impeach this man, impeach Donald Trump. They're just diminishing the value of the word impeachment and what really stands for the grounds for impeachment. It's kind of, blurring the lines. If they keep just throwing it out willy-nilly, when do you actually consider or think it's valid to impeach a president? AOC doesn't know. She's absolutely lost. And then we got Donald Trump with a blazing tweet. Actually, it was a post on Truth Social. Let me correct that. Absolutely nuclear bombshell on AOC, that airhead of Congress, and her buddy, Representative Ratchet Jasmine Crockett. All right, you guys, I was able to zoom this in. Let's hop straight into President Donald Trump's tweet on AOC and that Representative Ratchet. He starts by saying, stupid AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the dumbest people in Congress, is now calling for my impeachment, despite the fact that crooked and corrupt Democrats have already done that twice before. The reasons for her rantings is all the victories that the USA has had underneath Donald Trump administration. The Democrats aren't used to winning, and she can't stand the concept of our country being successful again. When we examine her test scores, we will find that she is not qualified for office, but nevertheless far more qualified than Crockett, who is a seriously low IQ individual, or Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country, yet the failed country that she comes from doesn't even have a government. It is also drenched in crime and poverty and is rated one of the worst in the world, if it's even rated at all. How dare the mouse tell us how to run the United States of America? We're just now coming back from what the radical left experiment with Sleepy Joe, Kamala, and the auto pen in charge. What a disaster it was. AOC should be forced to take a cognitive test that I just completed at Walter Reed Medical Center as a part of my physical. As the doctor in charge said, President Trump aced it, meaning I got every answer right. Instead of her constant complaining, Alexandria should go back to her home in Queens, where I was also brought up, and straighten out her filthy, disgusting, crime-ridden streets in the district she quote-unquote represents, and she never goes to anymore. She better start worrying about her own primary before she thinks about beating our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer, whose career is definitely on very thin ice. She and her Democratic friends have just hit one of the lowest poll numbers in congressional history, so go ahead and try impeaching me. Again, make my day. Oh my goodness, boom. Donald Trump laying down the hammer. He didn't hold back whatsoever, and this is the president that we voted for. No, he's going to call the balls and the strikes straight down the center. He doesn't care what team you're playing for. If Donald Trump feels like you're in the wrong, you're in the red, he's going to call you out for it. And we got Vice President J.D. Vance following up President Donald Trump's savage truth post with some words of his own. Check him out.
I certainly empathize with Americans who are exhausted after 25 years of foreign entanglements in the Middle East. I understand the concern, but the difference is that back then we had dumb presidents, and now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. So this is not going to be some long drawn out thing. We've got in, we've done the job of setting their nuclear program back. We're going to now work to permanently dismantle that nuclear program over the coming years. And that is what the president has set out to do. Simple principle. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That has animated American policy over the past 130 days. It's going to continue to be a driving force of our policy in the Middle East for the next 3.5 years.
J.D. Vance reassuring the American folks that this is not what we've seen of the dumb administration of the past. This is the Donald Trump administration. They're getting things done. It gets worse though. We've got the Dems. Now they're eating each other. We got John Fetterman calling out AOC for her calls to impeach President Donald Trump.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says the president shouldn't be impeached because he's impulsive. What do you think of that?
No, I mean, of course, no. She knows it. I know it. We all know it. That's not going anywhere. And, you know, he's been impeached twice, and now he's still our president as well now, too. So it's not going anywhere, and I don't think that's helpful. And I think if you throw that term around, that actually diminishes what the severity of what impeachment is really reserved for.
Alexandria Ocasio.
Exactly my point right there. John Fetterman can see straight through it, saying we can't keep calling and crying wolf every time Donald Trump makes a move, because when something actually does happen that, validates the claims for impeachment or calls for impeachment, no one's going to believe you because you've called for impeachment left and right for the silliest things. And we got President Donald Trump coming out, debunking all the claims of these loonies on the left, saying that we're going to be ensnared in war for centuries because of this move. Donald Trump tweeting out saying Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home, while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran. No one will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Wow. So just that quick, in 12 days, we've already worked towards a ceasefire resolution for this conflict. Sounds like Donald Trump got the job done. We didn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. We got rid of their nuclear weapons program. Sounds like we set them back for centuries on that one, and we ended the war all in 12 days. mean, what more do these loonies on the left want?
And when you left the White House, were you thinking this was all gelling here?
When I left the White House, I thought that we might be able to get it across the finish line before this broadcast, and it looks like the president has been able to do that. I mean, look, he's been working the phones constantly. Frankly, before the 12-day war started, but certainly over the past 12 days, the president's been extremely clear about America's national objective here. It is to create a world where Iran cannot build a nuclear weapon. We, of course, destroyed the nuclear program that they had, and the president told the entire team, we're going to work to make sure that they don't try to rebuild that nuclear capability in the future. And it's, look, this is a great thing. For Israel, think about this. They've accomplished an important military objective. They've helped us destroy the Iranian nuclear program. They've also destroyed the conventional missile capability of Iran that threatened the country of Israel. For the Iranians, I think this is a new opportunity to actually pursue the path of peace. As I said yesterday, what the Iranians have showed through their support of terror networks, through their now failed effort to build a nuclear weapon, is that they're just not very good at war. And I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
JD Vance, some very powerful words there, saying that Trump just hit the reset button, that we should start seeing peace within the Middle East. And then you already know dishonest CNN, they don't want to believe the truth. We got CNN's Caitlin Collins, a smug analyst. Caitlin Collins saying she just does not believe it. There is no ceasefire that exists. And then she's quickly fact-checked by Anderson Cooper. Check this out.
Now, we're hearing incredibly optimistic views coming out of the White House as far as how long this can hold and what this is going to look like. That obviously still remains to be seen on the implementation side of this, and waiting to see if the firing does stop and if Iran and Israel do both agree to this. Because, you know, speaking of the fluidity of the situation, it was just 24 hours ago that President Trump himself was suggesting a regime change in Iran was a possibility. And obviously right before that, having the United States strike Iran. And so, yes, there have been a lot of phone calls going back and forth. In part, this has to do with Iran's limited response earlier, where they fired on a U.S. base in Qatar. But there were no casualties. We know that they did give a heads up that they were going to be firing on U.S. bases without exactly specifying which ones. But that is the question here, is if the United States felt that it did not need to respond to the Iranian retaliation, did that create the space for this? That is what we've been hearing from administration officials. And so the question is whether or not this still holds for the next few hours.
Caitlin, I just been given word that Iran, according to a diplomat who briefed CNN, Iran has agreed to the ceasefire. So this is significant. I just want to try to learn some more information as soon as we get it about that. But if that is the case, that's incredibly significant, because that is, we were waiting. We had not heard from Iran. We had not heard from Israel. All we were going on so far has been the president's social media post, which was some 2 hours ago. So again, that is the first indication we have that Iran has agreed to this.
Now we're here.
So they just don't want to believe it. Caitlin Collins, she's not alone in, you know, her disbelief. We got AOC first-hand reaction to the ceasefire. She's so upset. You could see it. It was all written all over her face. She was ready for more calls and to amp up this call to impeach Donald Trump behind this conflict. Check her out.
Of course, now it's AOC leading the charge. She's not taking the ceasefire news well.
He also said that it was a war, and I think that the President of the United States admitting that he unilaterally brought the United States into a war without congressional approval is a very grave public admission. It is illegal, it is unconstitutional, and so for me, while the President is posting something about a ceasefire, I think what he also posted was an official acknowledgement that this was war. And I think that is something that should be taken into very serious consideration.
Oh my God, was she struggling there or what? Here to explain, Jonathan Turley, George Washington University law prof and Fox News contributor. I mean, that was a tough moment for old AOC there. The ceasefire So we got to impeach Trump. Jonathan, let's go to the substance of this. The substance of this, because I know you have some history about ceasefire negotiations and a president involved and these kinds of things. But tell us what we should know.
Well, you have to feel for AOC. You're all dressed up for an impeachment and peace breaks out. It's sort of a Marissa Tomei moment from My Cousin Vinny. What a nightmare. And the problem is that it doesn't make for a very good impeachment, and that's why she was struggling. The other problem is that if this is impeachable, you could impeach a good number of presidents going back to Thomas Jefferson, who moved against the Barbary Pirates. You would also include Bill Clinton and Barack Obama.
Jonathan Turley there with a great point. You wonder why AOC was struggling to get it out there. It's because she was calling for impeachment, and then meanwhile, peace breaks out, the worst thing that could happen for AOC. But where were these calls for impeachment when Obama, I mean, come on now, this guy right here dropped over 26,000 strikes in 7 different countries without a single vote, a single war vote from Congress. I mean, where was that? Where were the calls then? They pick and choose. It's the Trump derangement syndrome. These folks are hyper fixated on everything that Donald Trump does. We can't forget this clip right here of Nancy Pelosi admitting to herself, folks.
So, Madam Speaker, Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you all very much.
So, Madam Speaker,
simple, plain and simple. Did not need authorization from Congress? Yes, you're right. There was no authorization needed. So why are they coming after Donald Trump so heavily? I mean, I really would like to know. It's got to be that Trump derangement syndrome. They just can't get over this guy, Donald Trump, and his successes. And then we got White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt dropping a bombshell, letting them know that there were calls made. Donald Trump did not do this without approval. These folks just didn't pick up the phone.
We did make bipartisan calls. Thomas Massie and the Democrats, he should be a Democrat because he's more aligned with them than with the Republican Party. We're given notice. The White House made calls to congressional leadership. They were bipartisan calls. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries couldn't be reached. We tried him before the strike and he didn't pick up the phone, but he was briefed after, as well as Chuck Schumer was briefed prior to the strike. So this notion that CNN ran with at the White House did not give a heads up to Democrats is just completely false. In fact, both Senator Schumer's office and CNN had to retract that story last night because it was a blatant lie. And we showed them the timestamps from those phone calls. But I want to add something to Thomas Massie's false points. The White House was not obligated to call anyone because the president was acting within his legal authority under Article 2 of the Constitution as Commander-in-Chief of the President of the United States. We gave these calls as a courtesy, and the Democrats are lying about this because they can't talk about the truth of the success of that operation and the success of our United States military and the success of this president and this administration in doing something that past administrations, Democrats too, have only dreamed about.
So the same way that old Governor Gavin Newsom lied about the phone calls Donald Trump never reached out to him before deploying the National Guard, we're seeing it once again. They're saying that Donald Trump had no congressional approval. He didn't reach out to his colleague constituents. He reached out. No one answered their phone. Chuck Schumer, he got a phone call. Hakeem Jeffries got a phone call as well. It sounds like old Hakeem just didn't pick up the phone, and now the Dems want to lie. Oh my goodness. Then we got that superstar CNN host Scott Jennings breaking it down for these left-wing loonies around that CNN panel. Check him out.
They did call Schumer, and I know they talked to him, and they tried to call Jeffries, who apparently didn't pick up the phone. So I know some calls were made. Look, one of the ways to keep things from leaking is to not tell a bunch of people who leak. And so, I'm sensitive to this.
The Gang of Eight.
This is a pretty sensitive operation. There was a lot of misdirection. There was a lot of stuff going on here.
It's a close hold.
I know, and they called Schumer, and they tried to call Jeffries, and they told the Republicans. And look, we're not going to debate this in an open committee hearing when we're, on a tight time window. You got bombers going one way, bombers going another way. I mean, this thing had to be held airtight. And that's what they did, and it worked perfectly. Except that they did call.
Absolutely. Had to be held airtight. We have to remember the sensitive nature of this one right here, this strike that was carried out. I mean, this was to denuclearize Iran, to wipe out their capabilities of dropping nukes, wiping out cities within the United States. This had to be done in secrecy because if this leaked out, it could have costed us a city or two. You never know. That's why President Donald Trump did the right thing. We got Charlie Kirk tweeting out here saying, we told you to trust President Donald Trump. He get it done. This guy is the man. President Trump is operating on a totally different level. We've never seen this before. Donald Trump doesn't, he took note on the last time he was in office and all those snakes that were backstabbing him. He's not allowing room for error nowadays. President Trump saying, I'm going to put this one on my back. I'm going to get it done. We're going to carry out this strike and get the job done for the people. We got Benny Johnson here with a tweet, kind of just encapsulating the success of Donald Trump in these last 12 days, saying that we have to just stop for just a minute and appreciate the commander-in-chief, the masterclass that we just witnessed from President Donald Trump. The American military might be reestablished. Iran's nuclear capacity was destroyed, wiped out. There was no U.S. boots on the ground. We can't forget about that either. The tactical nature of this strike. The global force projection was achieved. There was no bloody regime change, no idiotic nation building. American diplomacy is respected now. We're working back to being, okay, this is a true leader within the United States. We're respected on that world stage once again. There were ceasefire negotiations within days, which these loonies on the left said was impossible. This would go on for decades. We got regional partners also thrilled. China and Russia on red notice as well. And markets are ready to roar. Gas prices are collapsing. Lots of mean tweets. We see that from President Donald Trump. I mean, he's just telling the truth, though. We're not worried. A mean tweet is usually just the truth. Let's be real with ourselves. There was no leaks because Donald Trump did not warn these loonies on the left who love to leak out very sensitive classified information. No media psyops. Equals everything was irrelevant. All the claims from the left were irrelevant. We got peace through strength. The globe is watching in awe right now. American global dominance is back and better than ever. Thank you, President Donald Trump. Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness, we're seeing Donald Trump absolutely destroying and obliterating that airhead of Congress, AOC, and that Representative Ratchet Jasmine Crockett. Oh, we can't forget Ilhan Omar. Honorable mention, we can't forget Donald Trump also roasts her as well in that Truth Social post, and rightfully so. I don't know where this sense of entitlement comes from. These loonies on the left, they feel like they need to be a part of the Trump administration and their efforts every step of the way. Some things need to be kept under wraps, closed door meetings, because we've seen what happened when we notify these folks on the left. They get the information and then they just spill the beans immediately. They run to these mainstream media, lamestream media outlets and try to report on what Donald Trump said was classified information, documents, and that would have been a major security risk, a national security risk. In this situation, we look at Iran's working towards the capability of nuclear weapons. We had to make sure we act behind closed doors in secrecy because, letting the word get out there could have been grave danger for the United States. So glad that it turned out the way it did with a 12-day conflict that turned very peaceful very quickly. Now we're seeing a ceasefire on the table. No boots on the ground for U.S. troops. Not one single of our military service women or men were harmed in this conflict, which brings great joy to my heart, to see that Donald Trump was able to be a true leader, get things done without losing any of our men or women. This is what we voted for, guys. Definitely hop in that comment section. Comments are open. I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking on this one. Also, make sure you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you'd enjoy more content like this. Catch you guys on the next one. We